Who writes the story of Lesley Roy's life? Lesley Roy writes the story of her life. And she is here now, all the way from New York. Lesley, hello.
Hi, William. Hi, Wiwibloggs. How's it going?
You are just a pop of color. My day is brighter already.
Good. I'm really trying. I didn't know if we were going to clash, and we kind of do, but it's okay.
It's
All
like
right.
we're in Benidorm, sipping cocktails.
Well, we can in our mind, in our mind.
Ah, I long for the day. Now, darling, you have just been such a source of light and actually inspiration. You've been so busy turning that very room into a studio repeatedly. I guess I know the answer in some ways, but how have you been coping during lockdown? How are you staying active in there?
Yeah, I think, I've been super busy with all your online Eurovision stuff, which has been a positive. I don't know if I've necessarily been fully processing what the world is really going through. I've been trying to, like you said, just be a bit of light, a bit of hope for people, or even a bit of fun during this time. And I think that's what's great about art and music is that when we are going through such hell, we can listen to a song and at least get 3 minutes of hope. So I've just been doing the Eurovision stuff as much as I can online, and I think driving my wife crazy, changing this room into different pockets of studios.
I am living for this accent. You are obviously Irish, but you've lived in New York and really all over America.
Yeah, I mean, I've bounced around. So I moved over to the States about 12 years ago with the album when I was signed to Sony. I was in New York for a few years. I went to Nashville to kind of study how they write songs versus the Swedes. Then I took that out to LA.
Ooh.
I did the LA top lining, which is very, very poppy. And then we finally came back to New York about 2.5 years ago. So we've been here, and I don't think we'll move, other than going back and forth to Ireland for the next few years. New York will be the home base. But yeah, my accent can kind of be a mess of everything.
I love what you just said. You talked about comparing how people in Nashville versus Sweden write music. What's the difference?
Well, to break it down into a very small answer, the Swedes focus a lot on melody. You'll write melody first, and the melody will dictate where you go in the song. Whereas in Nashville, it's more story-based. So you'll take the concept first and really dig through the story and the plot line and the perspective before you get into digging through the track or the melody. So I kind of got a college education of both worlds and how to combine those together. Well, at least in my mind of how to combine them together, but they write in very different ways.
Ooh, and LA, I often see on Instagram singers from Sweden, singers from Nashville, singers from all over the place going to LA. What does
Yep.
LA offer?
LA, I think, is just the hub of it all. It's where there's a lot of studios still. There used to be years ago a lot more in New York where a lot of Europeans would come over, but they've closed down because it was too expensive to keep them going. So I think everybody moved out to LA, and that's why I lived there for 4 years. There's just more labels, more producers out there. So I see a lot of the past contestants from the Eurovision head to LA, and they write their albums there. So it's just a mecca of everybody, I think.
And the story of your life in recent months has been very, very interesting. All the hype about Eurovision, people suspected you as a contestant, you were revealed, and then suddenly Eurovision was canceled. I'm curious, where were you? How did you hear the news, and what was your reaction?
Yeah, well, I think like all of us, we were watching it fairly closely about what was gonna happen with it, if it was gonna be postponed, if they were gonna do a kind of online show. So I was in Dublin preparing. We had just really kind of got the ball rolling with the press and done some shows in Dublin. And I was at my sister's, and the news felt like it was coming that morning, and it just popped online. I spoke with Michael at RTE, and that was that. We were all, I think, all 41 artists kind of just waiting to see what was going to be the next step. of what we could possibly do. But yeah, it was heartbreaking.
Oh, and at that stage in your planning and kind of behind the scenes work, where were you? Had you developed the staging concept already?
Yeah, so this is Pop Baby, Philly McMahon in Dublin, and Philip Connaughton. Philip was the choreographer. They were actually filming some of the light work the day of the cancellation. So they were far along on what that was going to be. It was going to be spectacular. Like the fact that RTE had hired Philly and were kind of handing over a lot of the creative direction to somebody new and somebody new for Ireland. I think it really helped with the hype of the song. I hope that both of us will just be able to carry some of that over for next year.
Oh, I really loved your music video. You had this very positive, vibe. It was all about celebrating differences, different types of people. I was like, I know everybody in this video. I went to high school with you. You lived down my street. What was the concept there?
Well, yeah, I mean, as much as the song is about kind of picking yourself back up and retelling your story and dusting yourself off, I think Kate Dolan was the director, and she kind of took it and saw it through her own eyes of different people telling their own stories and celebrating that. So she had found a cast of characters who all genuinely do tell their own stories in Ireland. They're living in their own truth. And it was very LGBTQ driven, which I thought was fantastic, because in that sense, the lyrics of the songs can hit so many people. And then also with the visual of the video, we got a whole new family with the song. So she did a fantastic job on making it light but honest at the same time.
Would the music video have mirrored the staging, or rather, would the staging have mirrored the music video?
Well, there is a very brief glimpse of our two dancers, Tatanka and Ryan O'Neill, in the video. And there's just about maybe 2 seconds of a shot of their choreography, and that would have been on the stage. The two dancers would have carried that over, but there's barely any of it in the video. It was just a hint. So the dancing would have carried over, but that's all. They were very separate, very, very separate.
And of course, your story is not over. A lot of people are wondering, would Lesley Roy accept an offer to go next year if that happened down the road?
Yeah, so I've had, a couple of great conversations with Michael Keeley at RTE, our head of delegation, and to quote him, so I'm not getting in trouble, he believes it would be national justice for me to come back next year, since I didn't get the shot this year. However, we both feel that the song needs to be there. It has to be as big, if not even better now, than Story of My Life, to kind of carry that much over, and for it to be fair and equal and, right as far as an internal selection goes. So I will do my best. I'll get straight into the studio as soon as the travel bans are over, and I'll start working on what that would look and sound like as quickly as possible.
Goodness, would that studio be in Nashville, LA, New York, or Dublin?
Sweden. We're going to go Stockholm.
Oh, well, hello. You've answered that question.
Just to start, obviously we'll check in with Dublin, we'll check in with the Story of My Life guys in Nashville, but I've already been talking to, and I'll tell you, I've been talking to some Swedes who have had some success this year, so I'll be seeing them very, very soon.
Oh, well, this is very exciting. Oh my goodness.
For you, William, exclusively for you.
Oh, babes. Oh my gosh, I'm so flattered. I'm like blushing. How did the ESC 2020 offer come about? Did you enter the open call, or had you been discussing this for years?
I had been thinking about it myself for a long time. I was a fan growing up in Ireland, as most Irish people are and most Europeans are, but it's very interwoven with our culture. So I'd always been a fan, and I think over the past few years I had felt that pull to enter something in, and I don't know why, for whatever reason, December it hit me over the head, and I thought this might be the time for Story of My Life. I think Ireland could use this injection of energy, and that was the first time I'd entered in, and yeah, then we just started the conversation from there.
Well, speaking of the songwriting process, Story of My Life, is a story of your life. How did this song come to you? Did you take the Nashville approach? Did you take the Dublin approach? Where did you start?
Where is she writing from? What country are we in? I think we took more of the Nashville approach to start. So Kat Gravitt, fantastic writer down in Nashville, she had actually had this title, and she came in and she said, Lesley, I know what we'll start working on today, Story of My Life. I'm like, okay, great, I love that. And there was a lot of conversation about how to approach it musically, and it was 3 against 1. They thought it was going to be more of a ballad, to be quite honest, at first, in discussing the highs and lows in life, and how to pick yourself back up. It kind of leans a bit more into a slower mid, maybe. But I wanted it to be more of a celebration after we've gotten ourselves back together, and we stood up and we told our story, and kind of here we are now in a celebration. So then we went into an up tempo, and then we took over the Swedish approach, and it was all about melody.
Yeah, it definitely has a hook, because like I can hear it now. Infectious.
Yeah.
And the message of the song, I guess, is there an instance in your life where you've kind of been pushed down or fallen down and had to stand up?
Yeah, I mean, I think just right now what we're experiencing, this is why I've always come back to this song, and it's kind of haunted me, is that right now, I mean, in my personal career, that was such a blow. It was such a knock to get so far. And it was similar to when, we lost our deals years ago, and you have to pick yourself back up again because, or you just quit completely. And that's not an option for me anyway. And I think that's where the world is right now. We're going to have to find a new resilient phase over the next few weeks, few months, and couple of years after this. So that is why Story of My Life continues lyrically to stand as such a strong song. I find, melody aside, cheesiness aside, it actually has a great message about picking yourself back up again.
Amen, hallelujah. A universality. What I like about it is you could read it through the lens of an LGBT, anthem, but you could also read it about anything else, like a breakup, about, people hating on you at school. It's like, it's got this universal message.
Completely, yeah. And that's, like I said, about the video was very driven towards a target demographic, but the song itself is, if you're a lawyer and you don't want to be a lawyer anymore, it's just about quitting that job and going and traveling the world. It's literally about any way that you can be your own true self.
When you said that, I looked at your tie-dye. She's doing it. She's wearing her colors.
Trying to pop. We're getting out there. We're getting some bright.
Living for this. And this is not meant to sound like shade, but the sound of this song is often compared to Katy Perry, who of course has had mega hits all around the world. So this is in many ways is a positive thing. What do you think about that sonic comparison?
Yeah, I love it. I wanted Teenage Dream, I believe, is one of the greatest pop songs written in the past, 20, 15 years. So I had that in my head sonically when we were pulling together the mix and the track and the space of what was happening on the song. So for people to recognize, I wanted that nostalgic feel, and I wanted it to hit people in that same place that Teenage Dream hits me. It's great. I don't see it as shade at all. I think people sometimes think that they're giving it an insult when it's actually a compliment. So it's totally fine. I love it. I think Katy's a fantastic writer. As you know, I wrote with Katy. She is a brilliant lyricist. She has had some fantastic songs. And yeah, I take that as a compliment.
Baby, you're a firework. Okay, let me ask you more about that collab. What did you guys work on together?
So we wrote a song called Slow Goodbye. It's on my album Unbeautiful from 10 million years ago. We worked for a few weeks. We worked on a few songs with Max and Dr. Luke, but Slow Goodbye was the top of the list when we finished up working in LA. So we just really spent a long time again peeling apart the melody and the lyric, and there's some very choice Katy Katy lines in there that people really love, like biting all the black off of my nails, sitting in the park after dark. Like there's some very good Katy lines in that song.
So she seems like the most lovely person. And the example I'm going to give is, do you know how Graham Norton does the red chair? So like
Yes.
10 years ago, I was in the red chair and he dunked me before I could like say anything. And then Katy Perry was the guest on his show that night and she said, "Oh, I really liked his t-shirt because it had Donald Duck." And like then it didn't even make the show. The clip didn't even make the show. I just felt so upset.
Oh my God. Well, tell me your story. Now's your time. I
Oh,
want to hear it.
babes. Okay. So basically, when I was 9, I was in Georgia. It was very, very hot. My mother would refuse to use the air conditioner because, like, she wanted to save money. And so I would fill the bathtub up with cold water and, like, slide in. And so I slid
Okay.
in, and then I heard something snap. And then the water started turning red. I had slid onto my sister's razor blade, and it, like, cut my bum open. So then I stand up screaming. I stick my penis between my legs to hide it because I don't want mother to see it. She then opens the door and she just sees blood and no penis.
God, I have to sit back.
So she shouts, "Con cua do," which in Vietnamese means, "Where is your penis?" But it was there. It just, yeah, so that's the story.
My God, that is a very stressful story. Oh my God, you poor thing, your poor mother. That's traumatizing.
Story of my life. We could go on for hours. But you know what? There was a nice coda because my father was a nurse, so he sewed it up. But at the hospital.
There you
But
go.
anyways,
Love
this is all about you, girl.
Wow.
This is all about you.
Sorry. Well, you have to tell a Graham Norton story. I mean, come on.
When you have an Irish woman on the line, you've got to go back to Ireland. You know what I'm saying?
You got to. You got to.
But Katy Perry is not the only big singer or songwriter you've worked with or producer. Max Martin, like writer of so many huge hits, I mean, for Britney, among others. What was that like?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was exactly how you would imagine. Fantastic. It was 2.5 years, almost 3 years of just grinding it and working it out with him in Stockholm and sometimes in LA as well. I was signed to Jive Records and they had such a good relationship between Jive and Max coming off of Britney, NSYNC, Backstreet. Basically, Max kind of built Jive Records and, you know, the pop scene for somewhat of the past 20 years. So he's amazing. He really, it was like a PhD in pop music, really studying how much work you have to put into making this most simple, cheesy melodies. It's so much more than what people actually think goes on. And he's brilliant. He's so good.
Oh, and did you have dinner with his family?
Oh yeah, the first night I flown into Stockholm, the label had sent me over, and I was working with some other Swedes at the time, but they said, you know, go and meet Max. It's not a guarantee that he'll want to do anything or be interested, but just go. He's going to have dinner at his restaurant in Stockholm. So I went. I was very, very nervous, very shy, little Irish lesbo running around Stockholm. So I went, I met Max, and it must have been about 15 people at this table, and they all were talking in Swedish. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to do my best and chime in when I can and try and eat this sushi that I've never had before. So anyway, it was a somewhat of a slightly stressful dinner. I thought it was a disaster. He said, come to the studio tomorrow, we'll try and start something. So I went after the Swedish meal, and we just started working on a little idea. I thought it was going okay. I was doing my best at coming up with the biggest melodies I could think of. And he said, go check out the vocals. Go, let's record some vocals real quick. All the while, like, not giving me much feedback at all. So I recorded the vocals pretty quickly, like 2 takes, and he walked out of the studio. I thought, oh, well, that's that. That's done. It's too rocky. It's not popping up. I don't know. It just wasn't. I thought all of the worst possible cases. So he walked back in about an hour later, and he said, so I'm doing the whole album. I just got off the phone with Jive. We canceled the other sessions. I'm doing the whole record. I was like, okay, all right, you could have given me a bit of a heads up that you're going to leave me sweating. But yeah, and then we really started working on that record.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so the message is to sit through the Swedish meal even if you don't know what they're saying.
Or serving you. Which raw fish is this?
I'll take it.
Delish. Goodness me, the music industry, for an outsider, it seems like such a tough place where breaks are hard to come by. And I read that you kind of got your first record deal through a series of showcases on both sides of the ocean. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, well, the first deal I signed when I was still in secondary school to an independent label in Dublin. So they had just heard some demos that I'd been sending to all the different people as I could in Ireland at that time, at that age. So I signed that deal, and then we started pitching to US labels. So the first few showcases, we flew over to New York when I was like 17 and played for all of the labels. There was no bites. No one really got it. Came back, did my leaving cert in Dublin, and then we did one final big showcase where we invited everybody to Dublin instead this time with a whole new round of songs and a new EP, which was much more geared to what Unbeautiful kind of turned into. And Jeff Fenster, who signed Britney from Jive, he was there, and then we got the deal after that. So that was the bigger showcase in Dublin.
I mean, that's life-changing. You must have been on the moon.
It was really, really great, and it was all very quick then after that.
Gosh. And your album, of course, was a huge success. Please, don't be humble. Tell us about the achievements.
No, yeah. Unbeautiful, it was doing fantastic. The second single, Unbeautiful, was doing well on top 40 radio. We had traction, and as the story goes, for so many people, the deal disappeared overnight after so much work, and that does happen a lot within the music industry. It took me a while to get back up, to do what Story of My Life now suggests you do, pick yourself back up again. But I eventually did, and I just started again, and that's what I'll try and do now after this whole cancellation as well, just begin again.
As you speak, I'm hearing Jean-Guy McCroy's Grow, the highs and lows.
What a great song. Oh my God. Yeah, he's great.
Obviously, as a music professional, what do you think about the range of songs at Eurovision this year? What are some of your favorites?
Well, I think when I step back and just look at it from like winning Eurovision, how much people can really hit so quickly. So Iceland and Lithuania, I thought we're going to do, that would probably be the battle. Switzerland and Bulgaria, and those four would definitely be in the top few on the night. But there was just, I don't know. And I keep asking myself that, like, if I wasn't in it this year and just watching from a fan, there were so many different colors throughout it. Like, it really spanned a broad spectrum of pop music. But yeah, I think Iceland probably would have won just for the traction that they had so early on as well with the video.
Goodness, you sound like a Weewee blogger. I love hearing your analysis, girl.
I'm a fan. I am a true, honest fan.
And what did you think about Italy's song? Because I just get all the feels when I hear it, like post-COVID-19. It just like, I don't know why, it just like takes over my body.
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. And that video a few weeks ago too, of everybody singing it on the balconies, he has an amazing voice. Like, I love that chorus is so good. And I feel like Italy have been like hitting hard in the Eurovision the past few years. Like, they are coming. They're like, they want blood. They want it. Like, we are out there to get it. Like, I was listening to a Benny Benassi remix of Soldi last night, and from last year, and I was like, oh God, this song was so good.
What I love about you is I can tell you're a real Eurovision fan. Like, there is no air here. So I want to ask you, what's your favorite Irish entry?
Entry or winner? Ooh. No, I'll just do winner. Let's do winner. I do think Niamh Kavanagh's In Your Eyes has really come through for me in the past few weeks.
She can sing.
What's your...
sing. You know, it's funny. I've been listening to The Voice from Imar Quinn, and it's funny because way back when I first started listening to Eurovision and I went through all the winners, I was like, meh. But then for whatever reason, she recently did the orchestral version. I really like it. Maybe because I'm older now, but it's very Mother Earth, you know? It's like, ooh, Mother Nature.
Yeah, it falls in that Enya Lord of the Rings vibe for
Yeah,
sure.
but I
Yeah.
actually loved the young woman who got eliminated in 2015. Is it Molly?
Molly Sterling, that comes up all the time with people. That was such an underrated
Oh
song.
yeah, I even liked the staging because a lot of people put that one down to the staging, but I actually thought the leaves worked very well. Vulnerable girl on piano. Yeah, it's a mystery to me.
It is. The Eurovision is its own world, and what works the weeks up to the show can be a winner, and then it can completely change on the night. It really can, and it's such a fascinating mystery to me. I'm like blown away by it.
As you talk, I'm channeling 2021 vibes. I'm like RTE. This is the voice. Choose Lesley Roy.
The new voice.
I'm
Yeah.
Marcez.
No, I'm channeling that too, and we've had many conversations as much as we can in this climate about what that would look like. And again, I'll do my best. I'll get into the studio. I have taken all of the good things and all of the bad things that people have said about Story of My Life, and I'm going to use that as much as I can as gas to write something and fuel a new Irish song that's much more modern, but still, it'll still sound like Lesley Roy, but I have way more information now about what Ireland really wants versus what I thought would have been fantastic.
Oh, this is interesting. What I'm hearing is this first go at Eurovision is not a false start, but a running start for the next time in a way, because you've been listening. In terms of the criticism, for instance, a lot of people have said it is perhaps dated or vintage, depending on the mood. And that can be a good thing as well. What is it like to hear criticism? Because Eurovision fans, Eurovision bloggers, have lots of opinions, and you listen to all of it because you're receptive. What is that like? Is it hard to deal with?
I mean, I think it's a mixed bag. You have to have some sort of a thick skin if you're going to release art into the world, because not everybody's going to like your painting, what you're wearing, what you're singing about. Some people will hate it and trash you, and that's just par for the course. That's what happens with art. So you have to have a thick skin. At the same time, I had to look at it musically and try and understand why some people thought Story of My Life sounded dated, but yet Iceland was okay to have a throwback sound. So I never understood this, where maybe a male artist can have a fun throwback idea, but a female artist cannot. Now, I'm not saying anyone specifically said that, but I just thought it interesting when specific people say, I don't mind that throwback, but I don't like this throwback.
Deb at
So,
Wiwibloggs.com.
so I really try and understand where people are, what they actually mean, because sometimes if you're not a musician, you don't really know what you're talking about. So this had a more of a throwback feeling, I thought, but some people translated that as dated. And there's nothing I can do to help people, understand what I was going for if they don't get it.
Oh, it's really interesting. You're so right, because yeah, I never thought about the gender aspect of that. It's very interesting. But at the same time, what I love about you, I'm thinking about the Czech Republic, Benny Christo, in his song, he says, they can say what they want, you should let it go, tonight I will show love. Because you're very good at dealing with, I didn't want the word shade. When people say things, you're very good at just responding, or not responding, or responding positively. And that is a skill.
I think, I do have a leg up in that. I've been doing this a long time. I'm in my 30s now. I've been doing this since I was 12, 13 years old. So there is a sense of, like I said, a thick skin and getting used to it. But I am really just taking all of any insult as much as I can and trying to see what these people mean. So instead of getting offended, I just want to understand what people are hearing when they hear a 3-minute song.
Thick,
So I don't know if it's out of resilience or it's more so I just want to listen to people.
thick skin, but it's very moist. It's well moisturized, matte. Girl, you give me some lessons. I got thick skin that is raw. All right, but after the deal fell through, you sort of, if I've done my research right, started writing quite a bit for other people I mean, I'm sure you had always done some writing for other people, but you seem to increase your output for others as opposed to focusing on being the pop star. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, completely. I mean, I think I I don't know if it was I choose to do this, but maybe subconsciously I kind of reverted back into not wanting to be on stage after getting such a blow as an artist. I thought, okay, well, I'm not ready to be on the stage again. I was quite hurt when everything kind of fell apart, and I had all my self-worth in what, Lesley Roy and that album. So I wanted to, or it was easier for me to write for other people and help other people tell their story rather than me explain exactly where I was at that time, lyrically anyway, and sonically. So yeah, I think I took a step back for a while, and it wasn't until the past few years that I felt really ready and wanted to get back on stage again, just myself. But yeah, I wanted to write for other people too.
And when you're writing for other people, do you sometimes end up getting ideas or inspiration for yourself?
Oh yeah, and I think any songwriter would tell you this too, where you have a thought in the session, and instead of saying it out loud, you keep it for yourself. You're like, oh, that's a really good concept. I'm gonna keep this one.
I just had a vision. I'm looking at your face on our delayed Skype line, and I'm seeing Polly Genova. I'm seeing Cleo from Poland. Do you hear this ever?
No, I've not
Well, they're
heard
both
that
beautiful
one.
women, and the Holy Triumvirate is now complete.
Oh, good. I love
And in
that.
terms of other, not just this edition of Eurovision, but in the past, what are some of the songs that have stood out to you and that you respect as a songwriter?
Whew, got me there. Hold on, I'm gonna have to use my Rolodex of Eurovision years. What has really stood out? Well, we were just talking about Italy there a second ago. I think they came third last year, and I thought that song was fantastic. I mean, really, when I heard and I watched Arcade last year, I think that put that final play in motion for me to enter. When I heard like how pop and how simple that was, I really thought, okay, when everything circles back around with RTE next year, I'll try and put something through. So, I mean, Duncan definitely is one of the more recent standout songs for me. Obviously, he won, but it's great.
No, absolutely. Speaking of standouts, if I was watching the WWE and listening to the theme music of the various wrestlers, there would be one very good standout. Could you tell us about your connection to the WWE wrestling extravaganza?
Yes, I mean, I've never wrestled before. I don't have a personal contact with the WWE, but they just had reached out to my people and my publisher and asked would I put vocals on that track for Ember Moon for that song, that it fit what she wanted and what she was going for her performance art piece. So I said, yeah, no problem. So she is a huge fan base, and it was a fun song to record. But I didn't write that song for Ember, but it was a fun little gig.
Wow. I mean, I don't know much about Amber Moon. Is she, what is her character like?
Oh God, very strong. She's very fiery. It's all about Ember. I wish I knew more for this right now. And obviously, great taste in music because she asked me to do her vocals. No, I'm kidding. She's awesome. But again, I dealt with more of her behind the scenes
I
people.
love that. Gosh, Lesley Roy is everywhere. It's like, where will she end up next? It's funny, I was on Instagram, and then a video of you singing Doter's Bulletproof popped up, and my girl, Lesley, you can sing. It was so good. Why did you choose to sing that song?
Well, that's been one of the standout songs I found for this year, even though it didn't win Melfest. Again, back to my Swedish love, I think it's a standout pop song. They absolutely crushed that melody, crushed the performance, and I wanted to record it as soon as I had heard it weeks ago. So in the spirit of everything these 2 weeks, I'm going to try and give as much content and like online songs that people didn't really get to hear me sing properly over the course of that one brief week in Dublin. So I love that song, and I wanted to do a snippet, and hopefully I can now give you the full performance at the Weewee Jam.
I cannot wait. It was so lovely to receive your video for the Weewee Jam at home, which is on May 13th, I believe at 2000 CET, depending on the length. But your performance, what I love is, I knew you could sing, but in the story of my life, it's a bit of a bop, right? So there's a lot of production. Strip it back, you got a voice, girl. Oh, forgive me, woman. You have a voice.
I don't care what they say. Oh, and who are they? Anyway, the story of my life, it's mine. I made it on my own. That's right. And you'll say, na 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 na. Hey, 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 my life, it's mine.
Thank you, William. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that will be something I will also be mindful of going into the studio, is that it won't be so blasted with too much moving forward, so people can actually hear a little bit more of the tones that are there.
I kept saying Icona Pop, and people were like, what are you talking about? And do you think I'm on the moon? Do you hear that as well in Story of...
Yeah, it's the chorus melody. That's where people get that Swedish type comparisons, the Katy stuff too. It's really driven into what I learned from Max is, if you can write a chorus that's somewhat a nursery rhyme, you're winning.
Oh.
So that's the na 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 na, hey hey hey. It's a nursery rhyme.
Oh my goodness, you are breaking. You need to teach a master class. Get some extra coins.
Well, I'll be pitching my TV show idea once the world gets back on its feet.
Well, speaking of you and other media, you have a podcast, and I'm really hoping you can plug it, tell us about it. Shoot.
Yeah. So Pop Kitchen is a podcast that my best friend and I recorded here before all the Eurovision stuff in New York. And we basically just do what I do all the time, is obsess over how a writer or producer writes a fantastic song, what makes a great melody, what makes a song a disaster, like obsessing what are the ingredients of a fantastic song. So we just break down different music that comes out each week on our little show, and I'm hoping to really turn that into, if I can, in the coming months, a TV show, if I can get that rolling.
Oh, I love this. And you know what? In America, because obviously I'm American, we love our Irish roots. Everybody's always trying to claim they're Irish. So you should have the show in America as a starting point. Go global. Take it back to Ireland. It's going to be fabulous.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see what we can do. We'll let the world get back on its feet a little bit. And then I think people really love seeing how songs are written. So that's what always drives me forward.
Now, is your partner an artist as well?
She's a therapist. So no, she just keeps everything balanced here.
Hey, that's a useful skill, my goodness, because those creative types can be a little... I ain't saying nothing about you, Lesley, but...
No, you've got me on a very good day.
A highly functioning mess. I kind of feel like that's how all of us are right now.
Completely, and that's okay sometimes.
And this cat is upset. He clearly likes your song, because this whole interview he's been kind of nagging to get in the screen. Say hi to Lesley. Say hi, baby.
Hi. What's
He's Barnaby. Name? He's 6 now. He's my firstborn. He's very sweet.
Anytime I see the black or the gray cat, I think of Hocus Pocus. And I think of him saying, Zachary Beans.
A pop cultural queen as well. Now, Lesley, we always request this in these interviews. Could you sing a little bit of your song? I want to hear those tones.
Yeah. Guitar, hold on. Hold on. Gotta make sure everything's in tune. I broke a string before you called, so. I know. The joys of live recording.
I don't care what they say. Oh, and who are they? Anyway, story of my life, it's
say.
Oh, wow. Gosh, you are so... this country acoustic sound, it really suits you.
It's different, yeah, it's different. So it's been nice to play around with the guitar online and show people, and show Ireland, you know, a little bit more of what I can do, because Ireland does very much lean into the singer-songwriter-y acoustic style and music. So I think that was what was quite jarring for some people when they heard Story of My Life. But it's good for everybody to know that the guitar and the folkier side is my roots. So
when you were in Nashville, were you straight up country? Were you giving us some Taylor Swift, Shania Twain, Reba McEntire?
I love Taylor and I love Shania. They're so good. But I think, I mean, I got into the country, but I think I always bring that element of poppiness, or a little bit poppier when it comes to writing, or I'll push my writers to go a bit poppier.
Goodness me. Lesley Roy, such a pleasure to meet you, albeit digitally.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much, William. And thank you for all the support for Story of My Life and for Ireland. We really do appreciate it.
She is a superstar. She is Lesley Roy, Eurovision 2020 for Ireland. You know what? I know a lot of you are also hoping she will be at Eurovision in 2021, so you keep the pressure coming on RTE, y'all. I'm going to be retweeting your tweets about Lesley Roy at Eurovision 2021. Lesley Roy, we will see you later. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.